Hey babes, I'm Cynthia.
And I'm Beverly. Grab your favorite drink. Let's sip and chat.
Welcome to Tipsy and Truthful, the podcast.
Period. Hey babes, welcome back to another episode of Tipsy and Truthful, the podcast where two best friends sip and chat about life, relationships, parenthood, and everything in between. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Beverly.
And I'm Cynthia.
And this is episode 6. So episode 5 that we just released last week. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. It is where we talk about, you're going to see me like move a lot. I'm like super uncomfortable. But we said we were going to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So like, this is not made up stuff. Like, this is our real lives that we're talking about, things that we are currently still working through. Mm-hmm. And in the last episode, we were talking about our triggers, and both of us really noticed that our triggers stemmed from our relationship with our parents, which I feel like that's common because
they molded you.
Our formative years is where we
developed
all of it, the good and the bad. Mm-hmm. And that we carry that for the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're right.
Until we notice it.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
And work on it. Yeah. Right. In that episode, we got sidetracked a few times. a couple times. Do you want to go on, Cynthia?
I mean, I guess. So the last episode, like you were saying, we got a little sidetracked.
A lot sidetracked.
A lot of sidetracked. Starting with the math thing, the spiraling math topic that we got into randomly. But it's funny because, especially me, in the last for most of my life, I know that there was something a little wrong with the way that I can focus. And you see that in every episode, I feel like I catch myself saying I'm fidgety. I'm sorry, guys. It's literally painful for me to sit. Mm-hmm. It's like hard for me to just sit still and like not move and stuff. And so in the last couple of, I want to say months, I really been thinking about, I have I check all the boxes for ADHD. And then recently I took
the online quiz.
I took us an online quiz to see if you should start talking to someone like a psychiatrist. Is it a psychiatrist?
I think psychiatrist.
Yeah, because they can diagnose you. So I took a test and it said when I was done, we highly suggest that you speak to someone because you're all over the place. So, that's a new journey I'm going to be on because I feel like definitely it would answer a lot of questions. Would it change anything? Probably not. I don't think, not for me, because I've dealt with it. Like I've dealt with it for so long in my life, but it would be nice to know this is why school and all this was kind of hard for me.
I mean, I'm going to disagree with you that it won't change anything. I think that not only you knowing if you really do get diagnosed with ADHD, it's not just you knowing. It's that now if you go to a therapist, they're going to have a diagnosis to work with you and give you mechanisms.
True. You're right.
So that you don't spiral off to a separate...
Talking about math for 30 minutes, So,
I feel like you didn't really notice it.
No, we noticed it when we were editing and watching that video again, like to do reels and stuff. I was like, dang it. ¿Y qué yo estaba hablando? Like, why was I talking about math for 15 minutes? And it's just, I don't know. So thank you for bearing with us, because, that's just, it's interesting to hear yourself again. It's one thing you talking about it. You talk all the time, but when you record and rewatch yourself talking, first of all, you have to get used to that because it's still weird. It's very weird.
It's weird as hell.
But also when you catch yourself doing things and you're like, wow, I never noticed I did that. Mm-hmm. So that's something new that I'm gonna start working on. But I guess it's okay. I'm like, it doesn't make me feel any certain type of way, but it's interesting. I'm just like, wow, all right.
It's a self-realization thing. Mm-hmm. In that episode, I think another reason why we got sidetracked a couple times is that we were both kind of uncomfortable.
We were very uncomfortable
with the conversation. Mm-hmm. Me watching it, we don't look uncomfortable though.
No,
but it's hard to talk about some of these things. Today it's not really a part 2 to that episode, but
It kind of goes hand
I
in
feel like
hand.
they relate with each other. In this episode, we want to kind of talk about our relationships with our parents, because that's like the beginning of a lot of the things that we have to work on. Your relationship with your parents, and
Your
this is
foundation.
universal,
Mhm.
is your foundation.
Mhm.
This is what determines your relationship with yourself,
Mhm.
your relationship with your future spouse, if you don't already have one, and your relationship with your children.
Yep.
The way that you go through life really will start with how your relationship with your parents is or was.
Mhm.
I'm really super uncomfortable. Do you want to start? Because I know.
Well, we literally this conversation honestly started. Okay, well, should I start with how this conversation came
with
about?
New Year's, yeah.
All right. I'm getting really, really personal. I don't even know where to begin. Basically, I've talked a lot about my relationship, obviously, with my parents, specifically also my dad. Now, I need to clarify some things about the relationship I have with my parents, right? I truly love my parents. Like, I don't have any ill. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I love my parents. I genuinely do. It's just that when you are on this journey, you realize, and I don't want to be completely negative about it, but you start realizing, like, man, I wish this was different. I wish, we could have talked about things differently, or I don't know. And I feel like it's just,
Babe, it's okay to feel what you're feeling.
I know, but it's just so uncomfortable to like say it out loud other
Yeah.
than with you
Yeah.
and like with people that know. So basically, look, my parents were married for a very long time. My parents got divorced maybe like 6 years. Cairo 6, so like 6 years ago. And we've always had, and I'm gonna speak for myself because I have to get into the habit of speaking for me because I have to respect my brothers and sisters' point of view about everything that we live through because everybody has their own point of view and it's valid. And I have to get out of the notion. Part of my problem is that I always want to fix everything. I don't want there ever to be drama, or I never want it. It's just difficult for me to see my family like in not getting along.
Not only that, and I'm going to interject here a little bit. I see that you feel responsible.
Yeah.
It's not that you want to. You feel like you have to be the peacekeeper and be the one to fix things.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why I've always felt every time something didn't go the way I expected it felt so heavy because then I'm like, now I have to like do all this, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Like there's a specific word for like, damage control. I felt like I always had to do damage control anytime something went left, even if it was with me. Like I just felt like I didn't want everybody to feel a certain way. Point is that my parents got divorced a couple of years ago, and that started. Now let me even bring it back a little bit further. Before my parents got divorced, you've heard me talk about a lot of the things that happened in my childhood with my dad, the spanking, and the relationship he had with my mom, right? And they weren't compatible. They had a lot of traumatic experiences growing up too, which then, they brought onto us unknowingly. And I know it was unintentional. And my parents have very, very traumatic past. And it's one of those things that like hearing about their experiences makes me want to have more grace for them because I understand that they really had a hard time growing up and experiencing these things. And even though for me it was difficult growing up, going through some of the things that I had to go through, I don't think it's nearly as traumatic the things that they had to face in a third world country with all the other things that they had to face. But that still marked me in some way. And so, growing up with my dad had a lot of issues he just had a lot of like anger issues. He just didn't know how to navigate that. And
I think, and I hope I'm not overstepping by saying that the way he dealt with his issues was he turned to drinking.
Yeah, he did. He really did. And so it's just hard to talk about. But yeah, he turned to drinking. And I mean, And I want to say I do have a lot of beautiful memories, with my dad. My dad was there all the time. Was he present all the time? No, if that makes sense. Like my dad was physically there for a lot of things, like throughout my life. I can't say that my dad wasn't there, but present, he wasn't present because he was going through so much all the time. It's just, I feel bad, like having to, yeah. It's hard. It's hard to talk about, guys, because this is like a very vulnerable, very personal experience, and airing it out, is kind of hard to say on camera. But
how did that form your relationship with them as an adult?
So, and I think that's where everything really started from. Even though like I've had these experiences, you don't really understand like what it did to you. Honestly, guys, if I'm being 100% real, I didn't realize how I was affected until I had my own son. Until I became a parent, I want to say it didn't affect me at all. I didn't think about it. It wasn't something that I was like, I'm kind of traumatized. Everything that I experienced. It was after becoming a parent that I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. I feel a certain way. And just that guilt for it's weird because I felt sad for myself in a lot of times because I see the way that I'm raising my son and then thinking about the home life that I had sometimes, because once again, I want to say it wasn't all the time, because like I said, I had a great childhood. Overall, my childhood was beautiful, but a lot of those moments that were difficult stick out in my mind. Yeah. And I think that's where the issue is, where it's hard to they're just so present in my mind that it's hard. The point is that this conversation really sprouted because my parents have been divorced for a couple of years. And for the last couple of years, we've really hit a rift. A rift?
I don't know, a rough patch?
A rough patch in our relationship. Like my dad didn't take the divorce that great because he didn't want to get divorced. My mom was the one that wanted to get divorced. And so that started creating a huge divide between my dad, my brothers and sisters, and I. It was very difficult. That was the hardest years. The last 6 years have been very difficult to deal with.
Do you think that he felt like you needed to choose between them?
That's the thing. See, now that I'm a grown woman, I told my mother, and this is just me being completely honest, I'm like, Mom, he's my dad and this sucks. You never want to see your parents get divorced, no matter how hard it is. I was a full-grown adult, married, expecting my first child when all this started happening. But it still sucks to see your parents go through a divorce, especially when you've seen them together your whole entire life. So, I told my mom, like, hey, Mom, I respect your decision. I respect your decision. Does it hurt? Yeah. But I respect it and I understand it. And I want to support you in any way I can. And I told the same thing to my dad, but my dad saw it as, you're taking your mom's side. You want us to get divorced. And I was like, no, I'm supporting her decision because now I'm a grown woman and I'm trying to see through her eyes. I'm trying to understand because now I'm married. I'm going to be a mom. And it's different. I'm not just your daughter. I'm not a little girl. I am a grown woman and I'm looking at her not as my mom, but as a woman.
Yeah.
And I think that was difficult for my dad to deal with. And that's when it really started for us, bad.
Yeah.
So
New Year's?
So then New Year. So before New Year, my dad, so yeah, let me not even get into that whole debacle. But my dad and I, and my brothers and sisters and I, my brothers and sisters and I haven't talked to my dad in a couple of months because of a situation that happened in our family. Now, it's been difficult not talking to my dad because even when all these things happen, we've been working on our relationship for years. Guys, for years since the divorce, we have been working on our relationship, trying to just, him understand where I'm coming from, him apologizing for a lot of things he did, but also me understanding where he's coming from and why he felt he did the things that he did. And once again, he's apologized for all of it. He has, and I can't take that away from him. But because we hadn't talked in a couple months, New Year's, I sent him a message like I do to everyone. I sent everyone in my family a personalized message because that's just me. I think about the person and I send them a message. And I sent my dad a message. And once again, guys, I haven't seen my dad since June. We haven't talked since June, since this huge argument happened between us. So my dad decides. So I sent that message New Year's Eve, right at 12.
At New Year's Day, pretty much.
Well, yeah.
I don't think he was expecting it.
This is the thing. Maybe I should say that I had sent him. I've already been sending him messages, like for his birthday. That was the first one after a couple of months because I felt like this is my dad, and I always say happy birthday to him. And I'm not the same.
Yeah.
Like that was my biggest thing. Like I'm trying to teach my parents that I am mature, that I do not hold grudges, and that I need to show them what healing really looks like. So for me, I sent him a message on his birthday. Of course, he responded. I sent him a message on Thanksgiving. Of course, he responded. And then I sent him a message Christmas. And of course, he responded. But New Year's, I sent him another message. And I think because he's seen the consistency, something must have happened for him that then the next day he came to my house.
He just showed up out of the blue.
He just showed up to my house. And, you know.
Did you cry?
No. I didn't cry, but it was a lot of emotions, like for both of us, because it's so funny. My dad and I are so similar in so many ways. We have a lot of the same personality. He puts off this front like I do, that we're very tough, but we're very emotional, you know? So I'm going to start crying.
It's okay.
So he came and we talked for like an hour. And we just aired out so many things. And I then called Beverly. And I don't know if you guys seen that TikTok of that dog when they're calling their best friend. And I was like, if she don't respond, I'm really going to have a mental breakdown. Because I kept calling Beverly. I'm like, why is she not picking up? But then she called me and I literally I broke down. And I just went and I cried. And I cried. And Beverly was like, babe, I get what you're feeling. And you can't feel guilty for the things that you're feeling. You know, and I don't remember what else you said. You should jump in because now I'm just like trying to gather my thoughts. But yeah.
I'm trying to remember. We talked for so long.
Yeah.
I remember you expressing your frustration at like the lack of being able to communicate effectively.
Yeah.
And so like I just pointed out some things that I've noticed in your communication style and how it may clash with his communication style. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how personal you want me to get here, but
listen, truthful. And I'm already like this is so personal that it can't get any more personal because this is something I've been dealing, and you know this, like I've been carrying for a couple of months. And you know, that day, I think it just all came out.
Yeah. I
hadn't really processed it until that day because I just felt so many things after that conversation that we had. So, yeah.
I don't remember the exact words that I said, but I remember I said, I think that the reason that you felt like this anguish is because, do you remember the words? Do you remember the words? Because I don't remember the exact words.
Well, the whole thing is like, I kept saying, I'm like, how can you love someone so much, but get angry at because this is the biggest problem between my dad and I. And this is why this is something new I have to work on. And not only with my dad, but this goes out to my siblings too. Like I have to respect everybody's perspective because everybody has a different point of view about how things happened. Like the way I experience things is different than the way they experience things. But like it's triggering when I remember a certain situation one way and the other person's like, no, that didn't happen that way. And I'm just like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I lived through that. What are you saying that it didn't happen like that? So that puts me, and that's why I had
to remind you, like, yeah, okay, babe, yes. But that's valid. Like exactly. Just because you were in the same room at the same time, his past experience and his feelings he's gonna remember that one certain way.
Yeah.
And your past experience and your feelings, you're gonna remember it a different way.
Yeah.
That same situation had a certain effect on you and a different effect on him.
Yeah.
And I think you were having a hard time
comprehending that.
For you, it was like black and white, and there's gray.
There is gray.
Because you could both be right.
Yes.
He experiences things his way.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the bigger healing, like seeing that when, like you said, everybody has their own point of view, because we could have been in the same room and you noticed something that I didn't notice, you know? And I think in any conflict, people have two different points of views because you're viewing things completely different depending on how you process that, right? And so, you know, that conversation with Beverly, like I literally was a mess on New Year's Day, guys. And it was because, once again, you know, when you're going through healing, you don't even you don't know what's gonna put you in that mindset. You don't know how those feelings are just gonna come out. Like I was not expecting to feel that way. But I'm not going to lie that I was happy that it was a step in the right direction. And seeing my dad moved away really far, like still in the state, but moved far. So it's just to see him drive down here.
It was big. It was a big effort.
It's a big effort. And I don't want to minimize that, you know? But I think something that was, and I told you this when I felt like a weight lift off my chest. See, sorry, with my dad, okay, let me bring it back a little bit. Something that we realized during this conversation was that she's like, but there's a reason. You kept saying there's a reason you feel this way. And I was like, you know, my dad always gets upset that we say that we love my mom more. And I remember this because, man, to me, that was like, whoa, that's huge. But, you know, it's not that we love my mom more. I love my parents. I honestly can say equally. I love my parents equally.
Are you saying that he thinks you love your mom more?
Yes.
Okay.
He's always said, especially after the divorce, he said that we love my mom more, that we support her more. And the thing with my mom is that she doesn't matter what the heck you do to her. My mom is there. She's like, I'm not moving. I'm your mother. I don't give a shit if you're mad at me. I'm your mom, and I'm going to be here whether you want me to or not. With my dad, I feel like, especially now that we became adults, I feel like anytime we had certain situations, and the words you used was, you know, I said, my mom's love is unconditional. And then you said, pause. And then I was like, what happened? She's like, repeat that again. You said that your mom's love is unconditional. So the problem with you is that you feel like your dad's love is conditional. Guys, when I heard that, I lost it for real. That's when I really lost it, because I never really put two and two together. Not that I don't think my dad loves me, but I feel like sometimes he lets situations get in the way of him forgetting that he's my dad. Yeah. And that no matter what, he's my father and he needs to be there. And I feel like that was it. Like, that was like, oh, that's it. You know? I put my finger. You put your finger in it. You put your finger in it. And, you know, that was like, whoa. Like, to the point that, like, immediately after I hung up with Beverly, in my 33 years of life, guys, the memories that I have of myself, I've never in my life had a nosebleed. And in that moment, she told me that. And not even a minute later when we hung up, I had a nosebleed and I really started crying because I felt like that was just so much that was built in me that my body didn't know what to do. And I had a nosebleed and I was like taken back. I was like, what? A nosebleed? This must have been like something I suppressed so much and my body finally released it, that it was just so overwhelming that I literally had a nosebleed. So yeah, that was my New Year's, guys.
That's good. You know why it's good though? Because now you put your finger on what the real conversation with your father needs to be. It has a direction. You have something that you need to tell him. I love you and I know you love me, but sometimes I need you to still be my dad even if you're pissed at me. You know? Now that you have an actual conversation that you know you need to have, that's where the healing will start.
Of course.
That's how you can move forward. And that's where hopefully he will comprehend why you felt hurt for all these years.
Even though he's beautiful. Apologized. Because that's another thing. Enough. I know, but he always felt like, do you not? And the thing is with guys, one thing is to apologize. Saying forgive me. But when you change your actions.
Yes.
That's when you really apologize. The best apology
is changing behavior.
Yeah, change behavior. That's real apology, right? And I can't sit here and not say that my dad hasn't changed so much for the better. Does he have miles to go. Yeah. But we all do.
We all do. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And to see him change so much, I can't forget about that, you know? And I think that's why it's important for me to help him understand that there's still healing that needs to happen within himself, first and foremost, so that it can just trickle into everything else.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to remind you that your message to him, that message that made him drive over an hour to come see you, was Happy New Year. I hope this is a year of healing for you. Like, God knows that those are the words that you needed to type to him in that moment for him to be like, wait a minute, this is my daughter. What am I doing?
Yeah.
So kudos to you for using the right words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, again, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And being
because
vulnerable.
This is something that literally just happened a couple days ago. And that in the time of recording this, she hasn't even had that follow-up conversation to work things through with him.
No, we've talked, but he definitely wants to have a different conversation in person.
Yeah.
So
I
we're
think
waiting.
It needs to be.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be in person.
Yeah, but he lives so far that he has to,
It has to be planned.
Yeah.
Right.
But he knows that he wants to have it, and he knows it's coming. So your turn.
My turn. I've been dreading this. I have been dreading this. So, when I think about my relationship with my parents, first of all, for me I have my biological father, but we don't. It's really strange because I really harbor no ill will against him. Okay. He texts me every once in a while. I text him back. I send him pictures of the kids. He lives in a different state. I've gone and brought 3 of the 4 kids to meet him. Nice guy, seems like a good person, but he was absent my entire life. Growing up, I can remember a few times when he would pick us up. I remember a specific trip to New York for a few days. Other than that, my parents were my mom and my stepdad, which I hate even calling him my stepdad because this is the man that raised me. This is my dad. This is my old man. He drives me fucking crazy. But he's my dad. That's my dad. A big thing that I noticed, and I didn't notice this really until I became a parent, is that I always felt like I was the parent in my house. I can't even pinpoint yet when it started, when I started like taking on more, feeling like I had to, because no one ever told me like, hey, you're responsible for your siblings. Make sure that everything's okay. Go read that bill. Me see if I owe anything. Like nobody like gave me the adult responsibilities like on purpose. I just felt like I had the best head in the house, which is stupid to say. I was a child, and I felt like, okay, like my mom is working through a lot. My dad is the snuggliest, nicest man ever. Okay, I am 30. How old am I? 34. 34 years old. And when my dad sees me, he still gives me hugs and kisses, and I have to sit next to him and hold his hand. And he still calls me, what does he call me? I don't remember.
Jessica?
I don't remember. He has like weird names for all of us. But like these little cute baby names, like I remember being 12 years old and my dad used to still force feed me because I wouldn't eat. He would sit down on the table and force me to eat this mango with salami. Like my dad has such a good heart. Okay. But my dad was, in his childhood, was raised to be a baby, even when he was not a baby. He was under his parents' like wing. And then he has a twin. He was under his twin's wing. And all his siblings always saw him as like less than almost. That's what I see, at least. He's never told me any of these things. Because that's another thing. I feel like my dad doesn't have like the capacity yet. Maybe he wants to. I don't know. To like vocalize all his emotions. He has said little comments here and there. But I can't say that we've had like an in-depth conversation about his childhood and how it has affected him. But from an early age, I always saw that my dad didn't know how to handle his emotions. He also turned to drinking. I don't know what he was battling with, because again, he didn't really talk. But he definitely turned to drinking to battle whatever he had going on in his head. He drank a lot. He had a temper when he drank. It was like day and night. When he wasn't drinking, the snuggliest.
Same with my dad. That's so interesting.
Your dad was so cool. I remember just thinking, wow, Cynthia's dad is freaking cool as hell.
And he was. And that's why
He was
it's hard for
funny.
me to talk about because I never
Because you don't want to paint a picture of this evil guy.
Yes, because
like,
my
dad
wasn't.
is a shit.
My dad really wasn't. Like, and that's the hard part. Like, that gray area of like, once again, guys, my childhood was beautiful. I really did have a beautiful childhood, but it was those moments where
it's that those heavy moments they tend to stick out because they make a huge impact on us.
That's true. Yeah.
Once we're adults.
It wasn't like I was being abused every single day.
Right.
I don't want to paint that picture. Because it's not.
Same. My dad wasn't like this alcoholic, raging maniac.
Yeah, mine dad either. But when he did drink, that was when the issue was.
And not only that, when he did drink, those moments were scary. They stick out in our heads because we were young.
We were scared.
We didn't fully comprehend. We had never drank at that point. We didn't fully comprehend how alcohol gets into your system and changes your perception of things, maybe. Changes your normal behavior to something that you're not used to. We both don't want to paint the picture that we had this terrible childhood, that our dads were these raging, crazy drunks. Like,
yeah, no.
When you're in those moments and when you're a child, they really stick out and they're traumatizing. A lot of these moments that we had to live through. But I love my parents.
Same with me.
I don't harbor any hard, emotions. Like, I definitely have distance. That I've noticed.
I don't have resentment is I think the word for
the
me.
word. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I don't resent them, but I have created some distance. And I haven't even done that intentionally. That's just something, I think John pointed it out to me.
And with my conversation with me too.
Yeah.
We got into it.
Because I don't intentionally say I'm staying away from my parents, but it has happened. And this is something that I need to really dig deep and figure out why I'm creating the space, and do I need to keep this way?
What do you think you're creating that space or that distance between you guys?
I don't like who I become when I'm near them.
Okay.
I don't like who I am. Like, my dad, I love him to death, but every time I'm with him, he stresses me out. Same with my mom. My mom is working through things, and so even though I know she's just venting to her daughter, it stresses me out. It puts me in a place where I don't want to be anymore. And as hard as it is, like, we talk. She's actually the monitor for my son. I see her every morning. Don't get me wrong, like, the relationship with my mom, I think, is the toughest. But like, every time I have good news, she's the first person I call. Every time I need a prayer, I call her, Mommy, I need you to pray for me. Pray for this. And she just says, I'm always praying for my daughters. So it's not like, I know that I love my mom, that I need my mom. But the reason I was able to pinpoint that need for unconditional love is because that's exactly how I feel from my mom. Especially now that I'm a parent, thinking back and when we were talking about like abandonment issues, I think what you were trying to tell me is, do I think that my abandonment issue started like with my mom kicking me out as a teenager, or before, when it came to my biological father being out of my life? And although definitely my biological father leaving has affected me, because I don't have that relationship with him, and I know that if I see a therapist, they're gonna be like, no, bitch, it's deeper than that. But from what I know as of today, because my mom raised me and I saw her every day and I loved her with every ounce of my being, I feel like once I became self-sufficient enough, she was just like, okay, you can handle yourself. But I wasn't. Like, I was still 17, 16, 17, like all the way up to like 22. And I already had 2 kids. I still needed help. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to walk through life. I had to learn everything on my own because my mom was pretty hands off. She was like, you got it. And I don't know if maybe it's because she believed in me, because we've had these conversations and she also has apologized. Like, we've cried, we've hugged each other. And although she does apologize, it's the same thing where the behavior is still like not changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that I'm 34. I know that I have my own children, but I still need a mom. You know? And she's so hands off that I think that even though I say I don't resent her, maybe I secretly deep down in the pit of my stomach,
Mm-hmm.
I want more. I want something different, you know? But
now, can I ask you, I don't remember what it was that the conversation was with John when he's that got you thinking.
John is very direct.
Yeah, we know.
He had come back from visiting his mom. And he said, "You guys are bad daughters." She sat down on the couch. She was like, "You guys are bad daughters." And I was like, "What? No, we're not." Yeah, you guys, none of you visit your mom. And Liana was there. And I don't want to choke up. Liana was there. And she's like, "Yeah, mommy, I didn't want to say anything, but like, mama seemed really sad the other day because you guys usually, my mom's birthday is July 3rd. And we do something big July 4th every year. So a lot of the times, most years, we're not even in the same state as my mom for her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So we will either like celebrate her birthday before or after her actual birthday. Like, we'll take her out to dinner. We've thrown her like little barbecues,
surprise party.
We threw a whole, like, for her 50th birthday, a whole like surprise party. But for the most part, on her actual day of the birthday, we're not here. We're usually on vacation. And Leanna pointed out that we're usually not there for her birthday. We spend a lot of the times that when I have like Thanksgiving, Christmas is here in my house, I'll invite my mom. But other than that, if we go somewhere else, it's just like me and the kids go and join another family. Or
Sorry.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm just processing everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. And it sucks because you never want to hurt your parents.
That's the part that killed me when Leanna was saying, and I'm not gonna cry, but
Sorry,
when Leanna
babe.
was saying that my mom was lonely, like, I felt like an asshole because that's not my intention at all.
Fuck. I'm sorry.
It's hard when you're creating space for your own mental health.
Yeah. All these things are gonna come out, guys. I'm sorry.
You know, I'm creating space for my own mental health, but I'm not stopping to think about how this is affecting
I need a tissue
her.
executive producer.
We don't have tissues.
Oh, fuck.
Give her a Ritz cracker to dry up the tears. But I hadn't stopped and thought about how this is affecting
I think that's
my
the
mom.
reason why I'm so emotional now. Because I'm always rushing through all these things because I know that they hurt and I don't want to think about them for too long.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we're having this full-on conversation on camera, being vulnerable, and, you know, like really sitting with everything that we're saying, I never want my parents to turn on the camera. Let me tell you, they know about the podcast, obviously.
My mom comments on every little like clip, but I don't think
but
she's
this is going to be
watching.
a reel probably. So, you know, my biggest fear, and that's something I have to work on because I'm not responsible for everybody else's feelings.
Yeah.
But that also comes in, it doesn't take away from what that makes you feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand that I'm not responsible for how other people take what I'm saying. And my intention is never to hurt the people that I love the most.
Our empathy might be our greatest strength and our greatest weakness.
Mm-hmm. We're too empathetic.
You know what? I saw this thing. Me on TikTok. John says, and I quote, "Ese tito te va a dejar loca." But anyway, I saw this thing. It was like a funny thing about millennials versus Gen Z?
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z. And it's at a hair salon, right? But the message behind it was so true. The millennial came in, sat on a chair, was like, "What do you think?" She like put her purse in her own chair so she wouldn't like mess up the floor or whatever. Like, she was so afraid of taking up space.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
The girl that was Gen Z, she came in and she was just okay with taking up space. She put her purse on the floor because she was like, "I'm not being uncomfortable in this chair when I'm paying money to do my hair."
Unapologetically themselves.
Period. We have had to learn that. But
They're
the kids
teaching us
that we are raising, we're teaching them that it's okay to take up space.
And you know what? I don't want to go on I'm trying to keep my ADHD in line. So I'm not going off on a tangent. But that's something I appreciate about this generation that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to them restructuring what society should look like, them saying I'm not staying in a job because I need a paycheck, because fuck you. I can get a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because everybody's hiring and I know that I'm valuable and I don't gotta stay here and I don't gotta take your shit. All that.
And we're taught loyalty. No, you gotta stay at that job for 5 years.
In the job. And something I've learned is that you're leaving money on the table because, well, you get a 3% increase every year. But if you move to a different company, that company is gonna be like, wow, you have how many years experience? Let me start you off $20,000-$30,000 above what you're getting paid. And we're always like, no, I'm trying to grow within a company. Nobody gives a shit about that. Honestly. And Gen Z is the one that's teaching us that. In TikTok, being themselves, like you said, taking up space loudly, unapologetically, being who they are.
It's freaking beautiful.
And I love that. And I feel like that's part of the reason why we struggle with always, I don't want to say struggle. I'm saying just coming to realize and work through.
Struggle.
It is struggle. But you know, we're trying to be positive. We're trying to be positive.
Yeah,
so I'm trying to take all of this and turn it into positivity, obviously. But it's just beautiful for them to be like, you know what? Yeah. My parents hurt me, but what are we going to do about it? You know, like we're going to have a conversation whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
You know,
that's something we struggle with.
Yes.
And you don't want that word, but that's the truth.
That's true. That's true.
Something we're let's rephrase this. See? That's something we're learning to do.
Yeah. No, now in our 30s, if you're in your 20s and you are just yourself, once again, the word is unapologetically.
Yeah.
And just unafraid to be who you are, speak your mind, and get what you need. I applaud you.
Yeah.
Because being in your 30s and breaking all that is double the work. It's really exhausting, but it's necessary. I mean, we don't have another choice. So yeah.
In this new year, I want to be very intentional about my relationship with my parents. Because as much as I don't want to admit it, I'm creating space on purpose and I need to figure out why. It's not fair to my kids that they don't spend as much time with their grandparents. It's not fair to me. My parents are not going to live forever. And I don't want to look back and regret all the times and all the moments that I could have spent loving on my parents. Because I love them with every ounce of my heart. Don't cry again, girl.
No. I'm just taking it in.
So yeah. We invite you to look inward, look at your relationship with your parents, see where the relationship that you have can improve.
See, that's something that I appreciate once again. And this is why my dad feels the way he feels, but it's just that my mom, man. And I don't know if it has to do with her personality, but she is just her heart. Right? She has such a beautiful heart. And my mom, she became a mom and she's always been a mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in my 30s and she's telling me, like, tápate la cabeza, te va a enfermar. Y tú estás saliendo de la casa así, te va pa' mal. Like, you know, like she's always just so worried. And I just feel like, you know, so loved and protected. And it's just, you know, you want that from both parents.
Yeah.
You know? Anyways, yeah. That's what I just wanted to say.
Yeah. I don't even know if I finished what I was saying. But I have to go back because I don't know if I said it. Because the reason that I was able to pinpoint what you were missing from me, the unconditional love that you were looking for, is because I felt that maybe I didn't have that either. Even if it's, and I have to sit down with my mom and talk about this in depth. I'm not saying she doesn't love me unconditionally. I'm saying it doesn't feel like it.
That's the same thing I would say about my dad. I know that he loves me.
Yeah.
I know he knows all of us, but I think that he doesn't know how to navigate those emotions and speak up correctly about the things that he really needs and wants from us. And it creates a divide.
Yeah. And it's difficult because we are working through these things now in our 30s when our children are still small. Can you imagine our parents in their 50s and 60s now trying to open up their minds to, wait a minute, I know I've been doing this my entire life, but there may be a better way of thinking, of looking at this, of talking, of, you know what I mean? with adult children, like that must be really hard for
adult children that are just not accepting. If we're changing, we're all changing, and I think that's not easy because we're forcing change.
I'm not.
We're forcing change. You look, and I want you to look at it this way.
Mm-hmm.
The things that we've learned and established, the boundaries, all the things that we have put in place up to this point in our life is forcing the change in the relationship that we have with our parents. We're not accepting, at least for me, and this is why this is so hard to talk about, because there has to be change.
Yeah.
And now you're forced to understand, or not understand, but have the conversation, have the difficult conversations, like us work through this. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like before, if we were still, think about 3 or 4 years ago. Well, see, with me and my dad, we've been working through this for years. But like with the understanding and the stuff that I've gone through in the last 3 years, because this podcast was born out of the last 3 years, really, of our journey, of our healing, understanding all these things that, you know, we carry in our heart and in our spirit, right? We're not accepting. If we're changing, everything around us, fortunately, has to change. Whether they like it or not. And for the better or for worse. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, that's the thing. When you create, but this is why I agree but disagree with you. Because when you put a boundary, right? Mm-hmm. You're not changing anybody except you. Yeah. You can only control yourself. So you're saying, okay, I can't control the way you talk to me. Yes. What I can control is if you're going to talk that way, I won't be near it.
And what I'm saying is when people, especially that love you, care about you, they're going to have to reevaluate and look at themselves and say,
And what I'm saying, let me rebuttal that, is that they don't have to do
They don't have to.
If they want to be in your life and they choose to make these changes.
But I'm not talking about everybody in specifically. I'm talking about our parents specific. I'm talking about this conversation. It was about our parents.
I know, but even there's parents that are estranged to
but I'm talking about, yes, and you're right. But I'm talking about our parents. Because this conversation is, okay, forget you. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about the conversation with me. With my, see, this, like a couple years ago, even though we've been working on it, wouldn't have been such a big deal as it is right now.
Because you would have just given in and been like, fine.
Exactly. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand, and I agree with you. But what I'm trying to make you see is that
this is the perspective. I got to work on it.
I'm trying to make you understand is the person changing is you.
Yes, for sure.
He could be exactly the same. The only person that's changing is you because you're saying, okay, I see things differently. This is what I require from you to continue this relationship. Now the ball's in his court. Yeah. And he can choose to take with that information what he wants.
You're right.
And he can either change and have a better relationship with his daughter, or he can stay the same and you guys might have more space between you. That's all I'm saying.
And I completely understand that. But I want to say that, now, I agree 100%. But what I'm saying is, for our parents that didn't view life the way that we're viewing life now, and didn't experience the things that we're experiencing now in our 30s with our children, I feel like, maybe forced is not the right word. It's not the right word. But we are encouraging change.
There you go. Put your finger on it.
We're encouraging change.
I agree 1,000%.
Yeah. That was the word I was looking for. Okay. Not forced change, but because you're right, you can't change anybody.
You can only control
But I feel like when you start changing and reevaluating what is important to you, what you need to thrive and grow, that just spills into everything else, every other aspect of your life, because you're just not accepting less. And that's something that has been very difficult for us. Yes. Accepting that we deserve more.
Yeah. Because people pleasing has been like deep engraved in our DNA. As the oldest daughters, we need to have like a whole separate episode on the effects of being the oldest daughter, especially like in our culture, because we are so engraved to make sure that everybody else is okay
that we forget about us.
That automatically, if your job is to make sure everybody is okay, guess what? Then automatically that means that you're last.
Automatically,
and we have to freaking teach ourselves like, whoa. Can I just say? We had a comment, and so I don't remember if it was YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. I don't know. We're in a lot of platforms. Somebody said, it was a good friend of mine who said, yes, this year I'm going to be selfish.
That was TikTok.
And
I mean, Instagram.
Wherever it was. And I just want to say, with love, that we need to remove why it's not selfish. Okay? Language is so important. That's something that we've learned. If you tell yourself that putting yourself first and making yourself a priority is selfish, guess what? You're going to fight to do it. You're going to want to put yourself first, and your body's going to be like, this is selfish. This is selfish. And guess what? Did I just break the chair? No. And guess what? You're going to have opportunities to put yourself first, and you're going to ignore them because you're fighting your brain so much. Mm-hmm. Your amygdala is looking for proof that this is selfish. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Last episode.
So it's actually super selfless, because when you think about it, this is the analogy that I heard in the podcast. If you haven't heard the podcast For the Girls with Victoria Alario, you need to hear it. It's really good. It's one of the podcasts that I listen to every week. She has this analogy in her thing about being selfish, where she says you have to think about it as like a gas tank. Okay, before you can even run, the first third of the first line, like up to the third, that's where you take care of yourself. That's where you take care of yourself. Jessica, it wasn't on purpose. So how can you even run? Like, before you get to taking care of your kids, taking care of your home, before your car can even start, you have to take care of yourself first. That analogy just made it all make sense. You know what I think about? What?
The airplane. They tell you in the airplane, if something goes wrong, you need to put the mask on yourself first.
Yeah.
Before you help anybody else.
Before you help your kids, your spouse,
you're not going to be able to help any. Okay.
If you can't breathe.
Exactly. How are you going to help anybody? So it's not selfish. You're right.
And it's so hard that we've been taught that it is selfish.
And it's not. You know what my aunt used to do? She's the real one. I love her.
I know which one it is already.
Who is it?
I don't want to say her name.
Okay. She's bomb.com. I love this aunt of mine.
I love her too.
But she, when she used to cook, this was back in the day in Dominican Republic, she used to cook. And I laugh because I used to hear the story growing up all the time. And I'd be like, yo, she's a boss. She used to cook, and she had four kids, right? And a husband who was un panadero, right?
He made bread.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, babe. I couldn't even think of it. But they had a bakery attached to the house, and he would wake up every day at 3-4 in the morning to make bread to sell. And that was a big job. So my aunt would cook lunch. And in Dominican culture, and I'm going to say Dominican because this is the culture I know, but you're supposed to serve the man first before anyone else, right? My aunt, and after the man, you would serve your kids, right? My aunt would take a plate, serve herself, and eat. And all the kids would be crying. Her husband was like, what the heck? I'm hungry. She's like, guys, how am I going to continue to help and making sure you guys are okay if I'm not eating? I need to eat first. The first one that eats is me. And she would eat first. And after she was done eating, then she would serve her husband and then the kids.
That's very unique in our culture.
It is.
Because it's like,
and she used to get a lot of pushback. And she's like, if I am starved to death and I have no energy, how am I going to serve your food?
Facts.
How am I going to serve all these kids, take them a bath, put them to bed, and do all the things that I got to do? No, I got to eat.
Period.
And I love her for that. I love her
She's
for
such a boss.
Oh, it's so funny. We've talked a lot about different things today in this podcast. And something Beverly and I were talking about is like, we're trying to keep this podcast to an hour. And we thought an hour was too long.
Yeah.
It's not enough time.
It's not.
It's never enough. And to me, it's just more important that we have quality.
Yeah.
And that people want to continue to listen to more. So with that, I want to say that in the future, maybe if a conversation needs to be extended, we will be doing part twos of certain topics, because sometimes an hour is just not doing it justice.
Yeah.
To get all the things that we need to talk about out.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah.
There's so much more that we could say about our relationship with our parents. We had a couple of good questions. We had a couple of good questions on
We had a lot of
YouTube.
engagement with this last.
Yeah, with these last clips.
I
Yeah,
feel
with
like
the
a lot
last
of people
episode.
resonated with that. Resonated.
And that's going to bring us to something that we want to talk about not our goals, but we want to set intentions for this new year that we're stepping into. Okay. One of the things, and we really noticed this because we saw how people were reacting to that last episode. We were both so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. But people
received it.
Yeah.
More than, I mean, and it's so funny how things work in life. Because that was the one episode. We've done a lot. This is our 6th episode. Well, this one is our 6th, but that one was our 5th episode. But we've had 2 episodes that we haven't even used. So in reality, 3.
Wasn't it 3?
2.
Okay, 2. Sorry.
We've had, if you add them all up, we've had up to 7 episodes to this point. Well, 8, including this one, right? Right? And what was I going with that?
Great question.
Fuck.
ADHD.
Dang it.
We had 8 episodes, and I don't know, because I was talking about how we were vulnerable and we were gonna get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's what I was gonna say. Thanks,
okay.
babe.
You're welcome.
Thanks. And in that episode specifically, all the other episodes were so easy to upload, edit, fix, put up on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
This episode, and I don't know if it was because of the anticipation, we knew that it was like something that, I don't know. There was just something about this episode. First of all, we both loved this episode because I feel like it was the first time that we were being real. Not that we haven't been being real and truthful, but I feel like that real and that vulnerable,
more personal. Yeah.
Yeah. But like showing that on camera was such a big deal. And it made me proud. And this makes me proud, that we cried the whole episode, But like that episode not being able to be put out or something happening with it, I was like, out of all the freaking episodes, this is the episode.
Yeah.
This is the episode that we love the most. Are you kidding me? No, we're going to fix it. Jessica, get on it. And Jessica was stressed.
For weeks.
For 2 weeks. That week that we didn't release. Listen, she was stressed because we were stressing her out. I'm like, we're not giving up on this episode. This episode needs to come out. And look at the love that it received.
Yeah.
It's received the most love. We're not going to get into that because that doesn't matter. The point is that you fixed the video. It's my fault. I'm taking accountability. but yeah, that's crazy.
That's one of the things we want to get more comfortable with this year.
Because we thrive on... Not that we thrive. I think that's great. Yeah. I feel like that's... What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know, babe.
Being uncomfortable is where we are...
That's where we grow the most, I think.
But I feel like on this channel specifically, on this podcast, I think that is where our strong suit is. You know what I'm saying? That is a strength that we have. Being that vulnerable, being that real, even though it's uncomfortable. It's
super uncomfortable. But we both said that this year we're going to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So,
yeah. Yep.
So hopefully we can, I want to have this conversation again once we've both talked to our parents.
Like an update.
See where we are. I definitely want a better relationship with both of my parents. All 3 of my parents, why not? Because I don't hate my biological father. It's just
there's just nothing there. In the sense that
it doesn't feel like he's my dad. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It just feels like he's a cool uncle that lives a few states away. You know what I mean? That whenever he hits me up, I'm like, hey, what's up? How's it been? I don't have that connection, which makes me sad, Mm-hmm. But, and as a co-parent, I've learned this. It's every parent's responsibility to create a relationship with their child. Mm-hmm. I used to stress out about, the relationship that my children had with their biological father. I don't stress that anymore because I know that I'm showing them the love that I can as their mother. I can't show them my love as their father because I'm not that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anyhow, reeling it back in. Another intention for this year, we have a list, babe.
Another one that we wrote is to be less impulsive.
Did I write that?
I wrote that, and I wrote that because sometimes we're not conscious about the impulsiveness. Is that the word?
I don't know.
You Google it. I don't know.
That's a word, if that's your question.
Okay. I wasn't sure because at this point we're drinking some blue Hawaiian. So
oh yeah, we forgot.
We never even said that. But this is my second cup because I was just freaking out about like, not freaking out, but I was just like, feeling the emotions, and I was like, I gotta check this to be able to even talk about this.
We should do a clip of all the times that I had to start this episode because I was like messing up. I was so nervous,
and it's true, and I get it. And so, what was I going with that? No,
being less impulsive.
Yes, being less impulsive.
Financially and
emotionally. Because I feel like sometimes when you're feeling a certain way, let's talk about financially. Financially, you don't even think about it. You're like, swipe, Apple Pay, ding, ding. And I am like, not until the end of the week that I'm like, ¿y qué yo estaba comprando? I went to Target, to here, to there, and I look at the end of the week, I was like, oh my God. It adds up because you're just like, Apple Pay, how much do I got to send you? 50? Okay. You don't even realize it. And then at the end of the week, I'm like, ¿qué pasó aquí?
Yeah.
Y este liqueo. So hay que arreglar eso. Same with being impulsive emotionally. Like thinking about the things that I need to, like really collecting my thoughts and being careful about the words that I'm using, the way that I'm approaching someone. I need to be more mindful of that. So being less impulsive for me is one of my goals this year.
I can take that too.
Even with my son, I've had to apologize 40 times this week. And he's like, Mommy, you make me feel sad. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to. I'm just so stressed. And that's not fair to him. So
but it's beautiful that you guys can talk it out like that.
Yeah. He really gets mad at me though. He's like, what the heck, Mommy? I would never do that to you. Or he'll say this. You remember when you told me not to do that because it gives you yellow thoughts? You're giving me yellow thoughts. And walks away.
Does he roll his eyes like that?
Well, he just says like this. You're giving me yellow thoughts right now. He just walks away. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I can't with him.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to do the same. I want to be less impulsive, less reactive. I've gotten better.
Which goes with impulsivity.
Yeah. I've gotten better, but I have a long way to go still.
We have strides to go.
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Another intention that I have for this year, something that you're really good at, is the routines of it all. I think reflecting a lot on my childhood, the lack of routine affected me where I feel like I'm always in chaos. And I've brought that same feeling of chaos to my house. I don't want that for my kids. I don't want it. Maybe that's why I felt like I had to be in charge because of the chaos. And
I didn't have that thing for me.
If I'm making my kids feel that same way, I really need to fix it. Because I have something that my parents didn't have. Google.
Forget about Google. Just kidding. I think you're I don't know what the right word is, but I feel like you're on the right path, babe. First of all, I only have one child to keep alive. She has 4 babies to keep alive. And that's a job in itself. On top of running a business and doing everything else that goes with that. So that's a lot. I just think that finding what works for you and your family is the key for you. I feel like it's not that it's not doable.
Because I've tried many things.
Exactly. I think you haven't found your groove.
Our rhythm.
Yeah. Ooh. You'll find it. This is the year.
This is the year. Yeah. And I want to be more intentional with my health, my emotional health, my mental health, my physical health, like the things that we eat and we put on and inside of our bodies.
That's something I'm taking from you, though.
Yeah, I have this whole. This is something I'm copying more from John because the foods that he eats, he's very intentional. He thinks about like his health. He says it's not for his physical appearance. I think it's a lie, babe. I'm sorry, but that's fine because I'm still copying it. Eating foods that are going to heal us internally.
That's the key.
That will translate to our mental health getting healed too.
For real.
So for me and for my children and for my best friend, hopefully, and her family, that's one thing that we're going to be more intentional about this year. And movement. I have another podcast that I love. We Still Like Each Other. It's a couple. If you guys don't
follow them, please.
You guys need to go find them right now. They're a couple and they talk. It's like a relationship podcast,
but it's not really anymore. They literally talk about everything.
But they focus on relationships.
They do.
One of the things that they talked about, or that she talked about, was how she needs movement in order for her mental health. Like it helps her mental health. It helps her be in a place where she feels like she's taking care of herself. I need that. Mm-hmm. I heard her and I was like, yes, sign me up, please. I always want to move more, but I make every excuse not to. Mm-hmm. And this year that ends because I need to take care of myself.
For your children. For yourself.
For me
so
first.
that it could spill into your...
I'm filling my cup so it can overflow.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where I was going.
Period.
And for me, the last one is affirmations. Now, I'm good at doing affirmations with my son. I just feel like in the last couple of months, life has just been lifing. And we haven't been as consistent.
You fell off, yeah.
But if I ask him right now, if I just bring him and I say, you are, he will finish the sentence. Because I am instilling that. I've been instilling that. Like, you are beautiful. You are smart. Your color is beautiful. Your hair is beautiful. You can do anything that you want. Like, he will finish these sentences for me. And I have to make sure that I continue that because I don't want that to fall off. Yeah. And same with praying. We pray every night. And in the last couple of weeks, we haven't been. And he asked me, he's like, Mommy, you haven't been praying. When a child says that to you, you know you fucking up. You know you fucking up. So I need to, that's my other intention for this year. Affirmations and continue with our spiritual journey. Yeah. I don't know. Relationship.
I want to, my affirmations I have started are in the form of journaling. And I've been really trying to get my daughters. So my daughters are teenagers and they, being a teenager is so hard. So many emotions that you have to process but don't know how to. So I want them to start journaling. I've been wanting them to do it for a couple of years, but I haven't done it myself. So instead of going crazy over trying to force them to do something that they really don't want to, I'm going to do it myself first and hopefully lead by example. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they'll see me in a better mental space and be like, hey, I wonder what she's doing. And join me. Because my dream,
this is cool.
My dream is to just sit on the couch, all of us with our own journals, snuggled up with a hot cocoa in hand, a healthy one, thank you. Dairy-free, gluten-free, hot cocoa, sugar-free. And just do it for each of us, do it individually for ourselves, but do it collectively. Does that make sense?
100%. And it's a relationship builder. So it strengthens your relationship too.
Yes.
Bonding time.
I hope.
Quality time.
I pray that my daughters never feel the need to take space from me.
But you also need to show them that.
I know. I'm working on it.
Here we are. But those are the intentions for this year because, we're not perfect and we're still on this journey. Mm-hmm. And if you need support, let's just create a circle. Let's just all support each other and motivate each other, encourage each other because this is not easy. These things that our parents never did and we're trying to implement and do and bring into our lives, into our communities, is not easy. It's never easy in the beginning, but I know that the end result is beautiful and necessary.
We just need to be consistent with it.
Of course. We need to stick with it. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So one of the missing episodes had our first Dear Cynthia on it. We're going to have to re-record that one. We couldn't use it. The quality was too bad. Mm-hmm. But we will revisit that. If you are watching this, we got it and we are going to respond again.
We haven't responded. Like, you don't know we responded.
We responded.
We were responding on camera.
Yeah. But I want to invite anybody else. If you have anything that you need advice on, if you have anything like that, please go into our Instagram, our link tree. And there's a link for Dear Cynthia. It's completely anonymous. I think you need your email to sign in, but we don't even get the email. We just see the message that you write. That's all. Mm-hmm. That was our episode.
Super long. Sorry.
Please write in so we can use Miss Cynthia's infinite wisdom to help you. That was our episode.
So thanks for getting tipsy with us
and for keeping it truthful. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.